and I'm an APEX Accelerator counselor. I have been in the world of government contracting for over 30 years. I actually even owned my own government contracting company for over 25. I started in government contracting as an employee as large primes and things like that. So it's been quite the journey for me, to say the least. So what I want to do is start with the beginning of what we do. And this is who we are. And as you see on the screen, we have, that is our, the counselors, the director, and whatnot. And we got, as you see, Yaz that you hear talking, and we have Michael, who's our intake coordinator. So what we do is, our mission is to help physician businesses registered in the state of Maryland to fully compete in the federal, state, and local government. And when we say registered in the state of Maryland, they can be a foreign entity in the state as well, to which they have signed up to say that we are a business that want to operate in the state of Maryland. So what we offer is we offer one-on-one counseling for new and existing business interested in government contracting. We specialize in training and outreach events, and we have a bid match service that you can get pushed out to you bidding opportunities. Over the 2022-2023 year, we had well over 5,000 counseling hours with that staff you see there. Attendees, we have 4,000 attendees have come to our events, over 111 million contracts award, and we work with 1,814 small businesses. So these are the three areas, as we said, we work with counseling. What we do is we do help you figure out government marketing. One of the things that I like to start with is my previous background, before I even got into government contracting, I was my first degree was in mass communication. So I asked those 6 questions that you asked: who, what, when, where, why, and how. So what do you do as a government contractor? You got to think about that clearly, because sometimes I get clients, there'll be a company of one and they have 30 NACE codes that they say that they do. That's kind of hard to believe. So you want to make sure that what you're saying makes sense. So what do you do? Once you know what you do and can articulate that well, then you want to know who buys what I sell. So then that's the market research that you do in the industry. And with that, it could be at the state level. It could be at the local level, like the county I live in is Charles County, so there may be opportunities here. And we obviously at the federal level, because we are a combined effort with DOD and the state of Maryland for giving these services. You have bid and proposal assistance. So if you find an opportunity you want to bid on, we don't help you write the proposal, but we can review it. We might give you some pointers on how to set up a compliance matrix, meaning list everything that the proposal is asking you for, and then respond to everything that they're asking you for, and then identify what the evaluation criteria will be, so that you make sure. So give you those kind of tips and hints on what to do. It's your business, so you gotta own it like it's your business and make sure you're doing what you need to do for it. We also will help you with the SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research, or Small Business Technology Transfer. The Small Business Innovative Research is because you know how big and unwieldy the government can be. So innovative research may not be on their agenda or their budget. So they look for it in the small businesses. That's where they really look for that opportunity to get innovative research. So in your industry, you might identify that thing. So it wasn't the government that created AI as we know it. It was small businesses that originally started. And the funny thing is, I've known about AI for basically 40 years. I know everybody act like it just came out, but it's the reason it's what it is because it's been out there and small businesses have been working with it. And then they obviously sold it to larger businesses that help tune it and stuff like this. You also have foreign opportunities of foci with that to make sure that we protect our properties and whatnot to make sure that they are handled properly. The training and outreach, we do how to do business with the series, learn how to respond. Obviously, you're in the training that EAS has provided you with how to do government contracting, success with government contracting, cybersecurity, Defense Production Act, foreign ownership, control, and influence, as I said, the foci, and more. As we find pertinent topics and people who can provide that, we do that, because we also have outside trainers that join our ranks. The bid match, you will find out that there's data out there to be able to grow your business, and there's tons of it. However, what happens with that data is that it's the government data, and usually government sites aren't very pretty. They're not user friendly. So what people have done, companies have done, is gone out and they go out and pull down that data and they make it user friendly. By them doing it, they will charge you some significant money for that. With our bid match, it's $150 for the year, and they will push it out to you. And we have several from SAM, Registration System for Award Management, which houses Caring Opportunities. We'll pull it from state and local. So Emma will opportunities will come to that and whatnot. So with that, we even get foreign trade opportunities. We get opportunities from the Department of Defense and Defense Logistics Agency. So with that bid match opportunity, I would at least consider it, just because, for one, it's cost effective, and two, it's pushing it out to you. And if you're a company of one, you might need that tool out there that can push it to you and not cost you an arm and a leg. At the Maryland APEX Accelerator, we provide, as it says, a roadmap from A to Z, or soup to nuts, however you want to call it, from beginning to end. So what we do is we help you connect, introduce you to our APEX Accelerator, that's us. We then we help evaluate your company's readiness. So that's one of the things I ensure that I know is, what is your readiness to do government contracting? Because as I said, I was you. So I know that this is not an easy thing to do. I was lucky in some regards, just because my first experience and exposure to government contracting, I worked for a company called Network Solutions. Network Solutions was a government contractor, and they were a minority-owned 8A firm and veteran-owned business that had the first domain registration for the internet. So I was in this field before there was the internet, and the internet now owns us. And what we did was, before there was a GoDaddy, there was this minority-owned firm out there called Network Solutions. It still exists. It was just sold, and it's still out there. When he sold it for about $4 million. It's now worth billions. So that's why innovation comes from small businesses. We help you strategize, so we can help you tailor your business. I often will do once I do an assessment by talking to you and figure out what it is you need, I'll do a 90-day plan to get you ready and identify websites and even readings out. Even if there's good YouTubes out there, I will identify those. If there's good books that you could use, I will identify those. That's how I choose to help you strategize. Then we work with you executing the plan. You go off and do your action items that we have planned out for you, or the counselors planned out for you. We want you to understand the difficultiness in this. And so the only way you're going to do it is you have to do it. So you have to figure out what it is you need. One of the things that I impress upon people, one of the most things, is the networking piece. You have to go out. You have to go to the industry days. You have to go to the Meet the Primes. And you need to be able to find ways to meet obstacles. The obstacles of the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. It is a lot of work, and you got to be prepared for it, as well as finances. You need to be prepared for that. With that, you don't get a contract and think, okay, I got a contract in 10 days or 30 days. It could be 120 days before you get paid. So you need to be prepared for that thing. If you hire some employees and you're not going to get paid for 120 days, these people are expecting to get paid maybe every 2 weeks, depending on how you set up your structure. So the way to success is to be able to identify what you need to do, put in the plans to execute that, make sure you're building your network, make sure you have your finances in place. With that, again, finance is interesting because you would think bankers understood what it is to be in government contract. A lot of bankers don't work with people who are in government contracting, so they don't understand. So often you're people like that you need to work with in this industry, you have to train them to say, this is how government contracting works. So you want them to know how you're growing and coming along, so they know where you are and they know what you know, because you might be teaching them government contracting. So what is government contracting? Government contracts is the government purchases anything from pencils and toilet paper to IT, construction, and everything in between. So that's why people say, well, I should sell to the government. Yeah, they will buy most of what you sell, if not all of everything that I've run into. Yes, the government does buy what you sell, but you have to know how to navigate that land. And so there are 3 levels of government: local, like I said, the county, or if you don't have the county, you might have a town, but whatever your lowest level of government entity, they have budgets and they have things they need to buy to run their agencies or departments. You have the state, you have the federal, and state will also, in the state of Maryland, Emma, it will have even some of your local opportunities in there. So you can sometimes find those there. So if there's an opportunity that, say, Charles County is trying to do economic development down here, it may be, and for the most part, often is posted at the Emma. And at the federal level, SAM, it's also your registering database, but it also is your current opportunities. In government contracting, you have pre-solicitation. That is when they're trying to figure out how they want to solicit. So what they will do is they will have the little thing called sources sought. That's in SAM. Sources sought says, we are seeking to find a small business source that can do that. We have to find at least 2 before we can set it aside. So we'll talk a little bit about the set-asides, and that in the set-asides, it will be that they will be able to say, we only want small business, women business, veteran business, hub zone businesses. So that's how they can set them aside. So, like I said, we can, why are you considering government contracting? You need to understand it. The government is the US government, think about that, is the world's largest buyer of goods and services. The SBA, Small Business Administration, requires to provide somewhere between 23 and 27. That number changes as they tweak it, but it's minimally 23% of the opportunities they wanted to go to small businesses. They have a way to also ensure that primes are also looking at small business. So primes have a requirement that a certain percent of their subcontracting or their contracting with the government has a small business entity in it. With annual spending approaches $600 billion, that's $138 billion for small businesses, 23%. So let's look at how to get started. You want to make sure your company is following the 7 acquisition regulations, the federal acquisition regulation, the FAR as we call it. You'll hear people talk about the FAR all the time. When you register for SAM, you click boxes that said that you read all the FARs. Probably not. Most people don't. I didn't. And I still haven't read all of them. But what will happen is what I did read was, or do read, is what's in that bid. In that bid, if there is a FAR requirement, a federal acquisition regulation requirement, then I need to be aware of it, because if I can't, and I've won it, and I can't live up to that, I will be blocked out, and I may never be able to do business with the government again. So you have to look for that in the opportunities you're looking for. You don't have to read them all now, but when you're reading those bids, understand that the FAR that they mentioned, you need to pay attention to. The FAR we're talking about here is 9.104-1. You can find all of the FARs. Back in the day when I first started, it was a book. It looked like my family Bible. It was like my great-grandmother gave it to us. It was that big. The FAR is that big. It's now online. So a lot has come along and has made your life easier. So you could go to acquisition.gov and then look for what is FAR 9 or FAR 914-104-1, or whatever FAR that you're looking up. So what the FAR 9 says, you have to have adequate financial resources or the ability to obtain it. That's the first thing you see. So that one thing you got to know about the government, if they mention it, it means something. I recently went through a nightmare because I'm also the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Minority Chamber of Commerce down here in Charles County. It covered Charles, Calvert, St. Mary's, and Southern Prince George's. And it took me basically a month to get something done. I had to register my SAM re-register for it, because we're getting grants and stuff like that. So when I looked at it, it had a thing that said it wanted my first name and last name. So, and it had a little box for me to type it in. And it asked for that a couple times. At the bottom, it asked for my full name. I'm thinking my full name meant first, middle, and last. It didn't. They wanted just the first and last. Why they changed up, it makes no sense. But it caused me a couple of trips to get my notarized letter that I had, because I was changing the administrator on my account. It's that kind of stuff. Something very simple that was actually other places on the same document, but it wasn't where they wanted it to be. So that's why as I really learned that lesson, that what the government is asking for, you got to be sure you understand what they're asking for and give them what they ask for. I always tell my clients, answer the mail. Don't get creative. Don't get cute. Write what they're asking for you to answer. You got to be able to comply with the required performance and delivery schedule. So if they say we need it delivered by this date, And that's what often can cause a lot of problems for people, because people who are asking for that delivery date probably have never delivered a system in their life. So they've done the research and determined that it should take this long. If you're doing something like I was doing, my business was in IT. I got systems on aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, and I got a system on the Zumwalt destroyer. So with that, it was like, you definitely had to pay attention to what it was. And I couldn't get creative, and I did. I thought at that time my team had really good animation skills. So we created a video, an animation video, and it did well for the government, but it didn't do well for us. What happened was they took that video to Capitol Hill and got what they call plus up money, meaning added money to the contract to continue it. The company that I subbed to, they saw how great this product was, the system was, and they decided they wanted it. They had the contract. We were even though they got the contract, because my network gave it to them through me. But I didn't have privy of contract. That was a word I learned, and I learned it well. So who owns the contract? The government can't do anything about it if you, even though you found it, you were a minority, you were a woman, you were 8A, I had all those boxes checked, but I did not own the contract because the contract went through that prime. So they owned it no matter how they got it. You want to have a great performance record. So sometimes the contracts will be, say it's a 5-year contract. So that 5-year contract, it really is the first base year and then 4 additional years. And with each year that you do well, you get the next year generally. That's how it works. So you'll hear a 5-year contract, but they make sure that they're not locked into a contract that they can't do the work. So if you can't do the work, you won't get that follow on. So you got to perform well. You have to have a record of integrity and business ethics. So, which a little bit kind of hard to say that with what you see going in the world. Sometimes integrity in business and ethics is kind of short, but this is what the government is saying. If the person that you are, the agency working on, feel that you aren't working from integrity and business ethics, you could lose a contract. Have the necessary organization, experience, accounting, and operational controls and technical skills. So you signed up to do a contract. Maybe you don't, maybe it's a contract that has a couple of areas that you may not be as sharp in. So you might want to go out and sub that section out. You have to have at least 51% of the work in revenue coming to your company. And I don't know what you hear on YouTube, and they be telling you how you can just be the middleman and all that kind of, do that middleman. Most of that is not true. It can show up in some ways, but not in a general contracting way. So in the manufacturing end, so they know you don't, if they buying trucks, say, from you, they know you're not building the truck, so you bought the truck from someone. So those are the type of opportunities that obviously you can sub those opportunities to, because that large business that's selling that truck is not a small business, so they couldn't get that contract. So there are opportunities when that makes sense. You have to have the necessary production equipment, facility, etc., to perform. And you have to otherwise be qualified and eligible to receive that award. You will hear about when people will go out and say, that company shouldn't have got us. There may be somebody who knows your company in that industry and maybe that far, or that type of work. They know you really don't have the experience. They will go and say, and they can protest it. So that's why you want to have all your ducks in a row. So when you get started, now you know what you do. You know what the kind of things the government wants you to have in place to start. So you want to identify that industry when you have your business, when you're making your business plan and stuff like that. So what is your industry? And they have codes to determine it. One of the main codes you'll hear talk about is the NACE code. It's a code, North America Industry Classification System code. What happened was North America, Mexico, US, and Canada got together years ago, and since we're on that same land mass, they didn't want to have different kinds of ways of identifying industry because they knew the governments would have to have different things done. So they got together and they developed this number system that will say, if it starts with a 5-4, which I did work under, that means there's some kind of consulting going in it. If it starts with a 6-1, it's like training and stuff like that. If it's a 4-8, it could be transportation, logistics, and stuff like that. But it's this 6-digit number that will say what is the broad area of expertise that we're looking for. You'll see that product and service codes. Often people get caught up with that term product. No, the middle name is service. So there is a code for that. You can identify, you need to identify what the product, the service code is for the work, because it will make it a little easier for you, granular, for you to be able to identify what are they really asking for. So in my experience, if I was looking for obviously something in IT, that's a broad area, and consulting, then that product service code might tell me it's a database contract, or if it's if it's a, I don't know if it's any kind of programming language, or if it's cybersecurity or stuff like that. That's how you get to know closer to the ground what they're looking for. At the state level, they use that United Nations Standard Product Service Code. You have to register in the government's databases. As you, if you decided you want to do this, you have to be registered in SAM, System for Award Management. If you want to do business with the state of Maryland, look for opportunities as well. You want to look in the Maryland Marketplace Advantage, or EMA. So you have and like I said, at the county level, they may have some procurement sites that they have with it, but often, like I said, their stuff will show up in the EMA database. You have a business that provides service products and services that buy from the government. You want to know what they're talking about, what they're looking for. So that's why we talk about doing that market research. We talk about doing your homework. You have to have the sales generated before you say I do. You can't say, oh, I did this also for my job that I used to have, so I know how to do this. They want you to have had some business sales, and that can be in the commercial and the local and state government level. So here's some tips for selling to the agency. Oh, well, that's me. with the local government person down here. He works in Charles County government as well. So you have to build your relationships. You get to know your customers. Target one or more agencies. I would say no more than 3. Sometimes 1 is sufficient. If I was going to target NIH is huge. Have you ever been out to that campus? I was just on University of Maryland's campus yesterday. Me and Yaz were there for a veteran networking event, and that's how big NIH's campus feels. So obviously there's a lot of people to try to get to know in there and find out if you have a service that, no matter what department, it's not just at the department agency level, it's the sub-agencies and the sub-departments, even within those. So there's a lot of fertile ground, even in some of the larger organizations. The smaller ones, not so much. So you might want to find 3 different ones to be doing your homework and networking with. So you want to target 1 or more agents, as I said, see what they want to buy from you. What is their mission? And I'll ask my clients, what is your mission? And often people think of these little things as kind of simple things. But no, if you say, I have clients that say, my mission is to give exceptional customer service. Okay, so how do you quantify that? You need 3 economic indicators for your mission to be able to determine that you are providing that mission, that you're excelling in that. If at customer service is a thing, then one of the things I might do is I might have for my clients, make sure that I have a survey, a customer service survey. And I can then say, I want to get anywhere from 80 to 90 to 100% from my clients. So then, you know, if they say, if they rate you at 95%, you know, you're meaning it. So, but if you just saying, oh, I just want to have good government relationship, you know, what does that mean? So you got to be thinking about what you're saying. So what do they need, especially on an ongoing basis, if you want to have the recurring relationship with them? And you can find that out by looking at the databases out there. And we'll talk about some of those databases a little further in. So how do they like to communicate? They have ways that they like. Some of them you can communicate with via Zoom. Some of them will now, or some of them will start doing in-person kind of things, like the OSTABLE, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. They are in most of the agencies, their job is to find the opportunities for the small and disadvantaged business and make sure that the government agency is utilizing them. So their job is to do that research within the agency. And then if something comes up, and that's why you knowing them, and there's something you do comes up, they might say, oh, I know a company that can do this. So that could be helping your networking capabilities. So that's why it's important to know how agencies work. And that OSTABLE, each one of them function differently. So you'll have to search on the OSTABLE for Department of Interior, the OSTABLE for Navy, and do that kind of thing. So once you identify that, they then have, one organization may have meetings that they have scheduled that you have to go on their site and register for. They might be meetings that are Zoom. They might be meetings that are live. It depends on how they want to communicate. Because remember, you do not sell to the government, you sell to people. And people have their ways of doing things. And some people are, like, sometimes when I meet my clients, I don't always set up a Zoom meeting. Sometimes I'll make the call to find out, do you want to do a Zoom? Because everybody doesn't. Everybody, you know. So they might be just zoomed out. So you got to talk to people like they want to be talked. If they're, you know that they're people, so they're going to search for you by Google kind of things. By that way, going into the dynamic small business search, which is the Google database for small business for the government. So when you set that up, when you go through SAM, it automatically takes your core data and sends it over to this database called the Dynamic Small Business Search Profile, or the SBA profile. That you want to make sure that your information is in there and the information they're asking for from you is in there. When I became the president CEO down here, one of the things I did was I looked at all 4 counties. I searched for small businesses and the businesses with set-asides. And I wanted to know, do they have their capability narrative in the dynamic small business search? 80% of the businesses down here did not have it. I'm thinking, if you did not do what you need to do for you, what makes me think you're going to do the right thing for my business? So that's why it's important for you to understand the little rules and regulations and be able to have your business set up properly to be able to be identified. Your job is to make their job easy to find you. You want to make sure that they can select you over your competition. I call this, what I do with the competition is, like I said, there's a database out there that gives you the information of people, companies that have won opportunities. You can go through there, identify them, the type of contract they won. You look at it from a standpoint, they got that NAICS code and that product service code, say, and in that database I'm referring to, which is the Federal Procurement Data System.gov, they will give you maybe a little better description of what they're doing. So now I know, and when you query that database looking for opportunities that have past opportunities, you might want to say, I wanted to be small business, I wanted to be a Maryland-based business, I wanted to have this NAICS code and this product service code, so forth and whatnot. It will go blah, 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 give you that data on the left-hand side. It will give you the top departments that use that service, and sell it to or buy it from small business, woman-owned business, whatever kind of business, full and open, whatever. So with that, you can then get that name of that small business that got a contract, because success leaves clues, right? So of course you want to look at, well, how they represent themselves in the dynamic small business search and in SAM. So that's how you use it to do the market research that we're talking about. Okay. So with that, you want to locate the procurement forecast. For the federal forecast annually at the acquisition.gov, once you can identify the forecast for the agencies. I'm not sure what the forecast is at like at the local level, but you can, when you talk to them, ask them, where do you post your forecast for the upcoming year? And at the federal level, that it's not just the upcoming year, it may be multiple years. So you can then start building a pipeline of potential opportunities. It might be out as far as next year or even 2027 as far out as I've seen so far. So what you want to do is, when there's no live contract on the street, you can talk to them a little bit more freely, because when a live contract is on the street and it's in SAM, then they have rules that they have to adhere to. Okay. So you want to attend networking events or industry days. Oh my God, I used to hate that. I was just like, I got so tired of going to all these things. But with me doing my networking thing, and it happened on one of the contracts I had worked on, I found out that the deputy CIO, she was a golfer. I'm a golfer. Not only am I a golfer, but I'm a golf instructor. So yes, I got to be good friends with the deputy CIO. So some of the opportunities I found out about, didn't find out about it on the golf course, found out it because we knew, liked, and trusted each other. So that's the kind of things you'll get to learn by navigating this world of government contracting. Funny thing is, I even recently I joined a group, only got to go once so far, that the GovCon Rock Stars. What do? They do indoor rock climbing. I just had my 69th birthday and I took my happy self and climbed a rock in Northern Virginia. It was kind of exciting and fun. And when I got to climb that wall and ring that bell, it felt accomplishing. In that event, what we do is, when people come, you get to say you like your elevator pitch in front of these groups. In that group, there's small businesses, there's primes, there's government agencies, the two people that started it, one of which wrote the book, Government Contracting Made Easier, and the other one is a director in the VA, and she used to be actually the director for the APEX, what would be APEX Accelerator in Northern Virginia. So that's how you get to know people. And say if I needed some information about somebody in VA, I now have somebody in VA that I could at least ask the question. Before I'd be saying, I don't know anybody over there. Well, I do know now. So that networking piece is critical. You want to subscribe to newsletters and stay current on upcoming news. You want to have a capability statement to market your product and service to. Now, when I say this capability statement, it's like the resume when you got out of school and you were looking for, or whenever you're looking for a job, you would tailor your resume for that job opportunity. You don't want to have just a generic capability statement and only one that answers anything and everything you could possibly do. Look at the opportunities that are presented by that agency and tailor your capability statement to them. And you want to always, like I said, have that a quick and dirty pitch. You know, the elevator pitch is just like by the time you get to the third floor, you make them want to know more about you and do that follow-up meeting. So what do they want? They dislike poor product quality and bad service. So you can't just be kind of willy-nilly doing the job. They want to do business with vendors that are experts in their field and reliable, even at a high price. That can be said easier at the federal level than can be said at the state level. State often looks for lowest cost. The federal will do lowest cost, best value, and whatnot. So that's why you got to understand who you're dealing with where. And you at the local and state level, you may have to do a lowest cost kind of thing just to be able to get that past performance. You never want to do it so low it's going to cost you, but you might do it lower than the normal margin you get, revenue you're going to get from doing it when you're doing with maybe a commercial or even a large government entity. They want to be dealt with trust and straightforward manner. And I could have the conversations with my clients that I did a lot of work with the high performance computing modernization program. And I had a client that we got to be very good friends over time, but she was a little difficult to work with. But I had to recognize this was her job. This was her contract. So if I didn't quite catch what it was the first time and I went home and did the work and brought it back in and she said, this is not what, I couldn't get an attitude about it. I clearly would make sure that she understood this is what I heard. So let's talk about it again. And I maybe apologize for not having caught that before, but I just wanted to be honest. Oh, I missed that part of it, because people are people. We're not perfect. So we just want to be truthful and straightforward when we're working with them. And we stand behind our promises and always deliver what we said we're going to deliver. Research. You want to identify your potential customers, and that can be difficult sometimes. But like I said, they do have these databases out there at the state and local level. You want to find agencies in your areas that purchase what you sell. And economic development might be a good place for you in your county. At the state level, you know that the state has different things, like the state of Maryland has transportation, just like the federal government has transportation. So you want to look at those, what level you're looking at. You want to gather the information about these potential clients and discuss with your colleagues who may be able to offer referral introduction. So if you find that if you're in a space, my space was, most of the people I knew back when I had my IT company was other IT people. They might not have been the hands-on kind of IT person I had started out being, but they know the IT industry. Like one of my good colleagues, she was good in government contracts from the standpoint of she understood the contracting industry within the government, and she worked a lot on IT projects. So although she wasn't a programmer or did techie stuff, she understood it from a contract standpoint. So that's why you want to, be able to have people around you that can help you identify opportunities. You want to look at current opportunities through these bid boards, like your SAM, like your USAspending.gov. USA Spending goes back as far as 2008, and it's a database that's free to the public to see what has the government been spending money on, and that's where you could see what that is with them. But going through USA Spending, because it provides a history of an agency's contracting activity over a specified period. You can say, I just want to know from this period to this period, just like you could put in right now in 2024, because remember the government fiscal year started in October. So there's already thousands of jobs that they've already contracted out. And here we are just getting ready to go into May. You want to go to SAM. SAM, like I said, they have your current opportunities. Even though you may be only time, the current time is the time to bid on it, you should have known about it before it became a live bid. And how do you know about it? You make those relationships, you go to the industry days and so forth and whatnot, both at the state and federal level. Even at the local level, you might want to know, you might want to go to a chamber of commerce. Like down here, we have 4 different chamber of commerce. So I may be at the St. Mary's Chamber of Commerce, I might be at Calvert, I may be here at Charles, and I may be in Prince George's. So you got to do what you need to do to understand who you're trying to do business with. So you want to develop your intelligence lists. Decide what agencies are buying your products and services. The U.S. federal local government databases are, as said, USA Spending, SAM. There's an archive database that with the Ostable's Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. The procurement officers page, learn how they do business in their threshold. I mean, the threshold they have a certain price for a product or service that they have that will say if it's at this threshold, then it has to go to a small business. If it's at this threshold, then you have to be a larger business. So you have to understand that language in the business contracting space. I often think about it and I'll say, government contracting is like walking down the street, a spaceship comes, as we like talking about spaceships these days, finds you, sucks you up, takes you to another country. You don't speak the language, you don't have the money, they drop you off and tell you to get home. You just entered the world of government contracting. So then, but you're going to find a way home. If you care enough, you spend enough time, you look at enough, go to YouTube University, but just don't pay attention to everything that they say, to learn this marketplace, okay? So like for procurement office page for the state of Maryland, procurement.maryland.gov, e-Maryland marketplace, the Gov Maryland small business pages, that's what you want to look at, these links. How do you reach them? They will, and on those pages, you can find if there's a bid out there. If you're in SAM and you're looking at a bid, it will give you the name of the person, responsible person, whatnot. So that's the kind of things that you got to look at. It'll give you a number, it'll give you your email address. You want to know who your competition is. Competition is probably some of those people who have won it before in the past. So you do that research on who's won these opportunities in the past. When you find them, you'll have their cage code, their unique entity ID number, and the cage code is another government unique identifier, that you can use those two numbers in the SAM database and in the dynamic small business search to be able to find information on. I call it ethical stalking. It's there. Everybody's information is out there. So there you are. You can find out that information. You don't have to feel bad about it, because when you're successful, they'll be looking in the same place for you. So that's just the world of government contracting. So how do you register to obtain future bid opportunities? In SAM, you can set up your profile on the type of things you're looking for. With the bid match, we will set up a profile for you. And those other databases, even the paid for ones, you say, this is what I'm looking for. These are the NACE codes. These are product service codes. These may be what's the words that I'm looking for to go, the keywords that I'm looking for to find me opportunities. So then they'll send them to you. Best value considerations. What are the customer's hot buttons? You want to know what their problems are. You can find them on some of that information, maybe on the LinkedIn page for that agency, maybe on the LinkedIn page for the person that you identify as one of the people that are people that have put bids out there. So you have ways of finding stuff. It's just when you're dealing to a certain extent, you have so much, you can be totally overwhelmed with the data that's available to you. So you got to schedule a plan on how you're going to do it. Identify who you're looking for, how you're going to search for, when you're going to. You have 24 hours. That's it. No matter who you are, you're not going to get no more than that. So plan out your day, plan out your activities, and see how you're going to get things done. Set the scene. Let's see, did I go the wrong way? Yes. Okay. So watch for contract awards. Contracts tend to repeat. So in one of those databases I mentioned, FPDS, Federal Procurement Data Systems, you can identify that contract, and even in the USA spending and stuff, you can identify that those contracts are repeating contracts. So what you want to do is say, well, okay, so this contract, every 5 years, they recompete this. And you can see that from the historical data. So you'll know that September this year, this contract will be recompeted. So now would be the time that you start introducing yourself to that agency so that they know you before the bid hits the street. So because they can't talk to you as a singular person while it's alive and well on the street. So that's why you want them to get to know, like, and trust you long before the bid hits the street. And these repeat opportunities are great ones to be able to do that with, because you know they're going to be continuing doing, because they've been doing it for the last 10 years, 20 years, they've repeated. Like a janitorial contract, you're a janitorial business, you know that they're going to be having their buildings cleaned. And there's going to be a repeating thing. They're not going to have the same contractor for like 100 years. So you want to be able to identify when that's going to come up again and start connecting with them before it becomes, and you can be more on the front of their mind with doing it. Because the funny thing is, with, say, janitorial, as I said, if I had a janitorial business, that's what I call it. So that's how I look for it. But if I'm doing my research on that target agency, say that agency is NavAir, they may call it facility maintenance. Know the language of your client. They will know whether you did your homework by how you talk to them. If you're using words that are not the words they use, that will identify you as somebody that's not really serious, or you haven't done your homework. You don't go in there talking about, oh, I'm a woman-owned business, I'm a veteran, I'm a this, I'm a that. They don't care. They want to know, what can you do? And by the way, I have this set aside that may help your agency because I've done my homework. I see you guys haven't met your numbers in the woman-owned business space, but don't worry, we're a good company. We do great what we do. These are the clients we've worked for. So we are the company that will be able to help satisfy your needs. So you should track a firm's previously awarded contracts that map to your core competency. You will make lists of those awards and then market to those awarding agencies for future product and services. So with the customer selling, you want to do, remember, sales are made when the customer is convinced that you will solve their problem. The other thing is, I always says, facts tell, stories sell. So you got to have a convincing story with those facts. So that's because people are programmed for the story. If you haven't noticed that, the biggest reason that AI is such a big thing, because it's about the story. And you hear prompt engineers make the most money now out of anybody because they know the story. They know how to ask the questions. They know how to identify the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so therefore, if you got the right story and you got the facts or the analytics to back it up, then you're walking in good stead. You need to know the current needs of the customer and look at their RFPs that they put out, requests for quotes or invitation for bids. With that, you want to look in section, the federal space, the section C, which is a statement of work, section L in federal instruction to offer, and M, the evaluation criteria. So that says this section will be valued more than this section. So if you know that, obviously you're going to make sure your strongest response is to those evaluation criteria that will get you closer. So determine if your firm meets all the qualifications outlined in the statement of work. If yes, bid, and bid to win. Remember to put your customer first. Listen carefully to their needs and develop appropriate solutions to resolve their problems. Understand that, too, WIFMs. What a WIFM is, what's in it for me? That's what everybody wants. Your customers no different. They want to know that you're letting them know what's in it for them. So what not to do? Don't rely on others outside. I did this. I would hire, because I wasn't a business development person. I didn't know that stuff. So I would hire people. And when you're doing business development, it takes a while, especially in the government space. You know it's going to take possibly anywhere from 12 to 18 months, even if they got the connection to get you that opportunity. So it'll take you a year to figure out these people aren't doing anything. I just wasted maybe $100,000 paying somebody that did nothing for me. So you need to understand that business space, that networking space, that understanding that client's information. So you can have somebody do the research, give you that information, and prepare you for those interactions, but you got to be closely involved. And my people would come in so excited that they had got this connection with this agency and it was going to be so good and everything. And I would have to say, until a check comes in, it means nothing. And it would be up, and they would think I was Debbie Downer or something like that. But often you'll hear good information. And you got to be sure you even talking to the right person who does the buying. Just because they talking a good show, you need to be sure that they're the ones you need to be talking to. Don't rely on those set-asides. 8A, woman-owned, economic status. I was an 8A. I was a woman-owned. I was in the mentor protege program. So yes, but that's not what I led with. Actually, in the mentor protege program, it wasn't me. I didn't even know about that program because I had a strong relationship with some of my clients. that they knew about because I knew some of the employees there. They approached me and asked me, would I be a protege to them? That's a hard thing to get. So you got to be looking at both government and prime people to be able to that. And what happened was NAVAIR was a government agency that was part of that mentor protege. My mentor was in Huntsville, Alabama. And here I was up here in Maryland. We did a lot of work with them. We worked on the THAAD missile system down there and whatnot, and missile defense down in Alabama. So things can come to you, and you can't think about it from the standpoint of, can I do the work? You're a business. So look at it from the standpoint, can I get the staff that can do the work? You can't be, because if you're always doing the work, who's growing the business? So and you don't want to rely on your GSA schedule to do all of your marketing, because the GSA schedule, which can be very good. However, everybody doesn't use the GSA schedule. The Navy does not use the GSA schedule. Because why? The GSA charges the agency 3% of whatever that contract is, and they charge the small business close to a percentage. So they're getting 4%. They're not doing any of the work, anything. They just help you put this schedule together, and they get 4%, and 4% of millions of dollar contract. That's a lot of money to have not done anything. So the Navy said, no, we ain't doing that. So what did they do? They made their own contract vehicle. They call it C4E. That's why understanding your agency. So the GSA people may come to you, somebody who writes them, and tell you how much you need that schedule. And then but you're thinking of working with an agency that don't use it. But you didn't know that because you didn't do your homework. So you may pay $5,000 for somebody to write your schedule for an agency that doesn't even use it. That's why, again, that research is important. Don't assume a member of Congress will open doors for you or automatically solve any of your issues. I did when I had that situation I was talking about with the aircraft carrier situation. We did that great video and stuff like that. I was a novice. Okay, I was a woman owned, I was 8A, I was all of those things. And I was like, how could this prime contractor do this to me? I went to the Congressman Steny Hoyer, actually. What I found out is at that point, as soon as you go to Congress, first of all, the admiral gets to know, and you do not want to be seen in any kind of way of disturbing stuff in your agency. So one of my friends, her brother was one of the top SCSers down there, and he said, I hate to tell you, if you ever want to do business down here again, I suggest you let that go. So is it fair? No. And he said, what they did to you was wrong, but if you want to continue to do business, I suggest, and we didn't have this conversation. That's how it went. So you want to also think that you can't think that you're the only one in the game. Everybody, I hear people say, oh, we're the only one that does this. Probably not. And if you are right now, you won't be for long if it's that good. Don't be the jack of all trades and master of none, because don't nobody want to deal with that. So, because it's like, you doing it, like I said, I'll have clients that'll have 30 NACE codes and in their description say they are a company of one. Is it possible? Yeah, because you could hire if you got the funding, that when you need this stuff done, you can go out and hire those people to do it. But that's usually not the case for a small business. So what do you do? Do your homework first and ask the relevant questions based on market research you have already conducted. Be persistent, consistent, and patient. Patience is the hardest thing about government contracting. It takes time. Like I said, it may take you anywhere from first connection, you think you got a good connection, it may take 18 to 24 months for you to get that opportunity that you could potentially get. But remember, when a person agency decides that you're who they want and they know nothing about you, they're risking their job. So they want to see you stay around. They know this is a hard industry, but they want to see, do you have the ability to stick it through? And when you are getting into this, a lot of times people will start this business, they'll be wanting to be full-time working some in another opportunity. They have a full-time job and they're going to start this business like it's a side hustle kind of thing. It's not. This is a real job that requires most of your time and attention. This takes you planning to be able to be a government contract. You have to have your finances in place. You have to have your network in place to at least do your fundamental, your bookkeeping, accounting. You need a lawyer sometimes, things like that. I've continued to learn more and more stuff as I stay in this industry. This week, I can say I know from beginning to end the stuff. I got a call this week about a novation. A novation is when you're trying to wrap up your company, because it's that time when you want to wrap it up. Like when I ended my company, it was because of health reasons that I had. I got multiple sclerosis, didn't know what it would do to me. So I decided to wrap my business up, which I didn't have to, but I was so busy, as in the E-Myth says, I was so busy working in the business and not on the business. So by working on the business, I would have recognized that I did not have to stop. I was just trying to figure out how was we going to do a lot of stuff if I wasn't going to be able to physically be there to do work. But that didn't, I never stopped working. I landed my people in some good places. We're still very good friends. And you say, well, what I'm doing right now, I work for APEX Accelerator. I work for them 3 days a week. So I'm president of the Chamber of Commerce. So clearly I did not have to stop working, but I didn't know that at the time. We don't know what we don't know. So this idea of understanding, try to figure it out, and to think that you can work a full-time job and then be a government contractor on the side, that's a little hard to do. Is it impossible? No. Because if you have a job that are you working from 9 to 5, in the contract kind of world you want to be in is operating from 10 to 2 in the morning, whatever. There's ways of doing some things, but you got to understand what that's going to take. So you don't want to primarily utilize emails as your main form of marketing. It's not a substitute for one-on-one contact, which is how you build relationships. And I built great relationships, even though I was a little skeptical about this whole Zoom thing at one point. I have some of I've created some serious relationships through the pandemic that I met them online. Since we can get offline, I've even have met them offline, and we become friends. But we became friends first on Zoom in our interaction, because and it can happen. So you want to learn as much as you can about your customer and generate reasons to reach out and meet with the ever-growing needs and time. Because I'll have clients like I had one, the video production guy, and I had an opportunity with my chamber that I needed a video production person to work on and just to record an event for one of the large energy companies around. So that way, everybody got to make a connection that they can work. They registered afterwards onto their database, and they're trying to still find opportunities that they can do the work. Don't be adversarial. Don't be a know-it-all. I mean, you've gone to try to buy a car, and that salesperson was a little cocky, and you just did not like it. And so don't come off that way. Be willing to listen more. You can't. I know that if I'm doing all the talking, how am I learning anything? I need to be listening to what is it that you want? What is you need? What is it? Say, what is the worst contractor you had? What did they do that you would never work with them? And then you could find it. It might be them. It might have been the worst thing to you. You might have been like, really thinking. So that's why listening, asking the right questions Remember, the government employees and prime contractors are people just like you and me. So next steps, have your business registered in the state of Maryland. It must be in good standing. In good standing, all it means is you paid, if you're an LLC, you pay that $300 a year. That's good standing in the state of Maryland. Have legitimate business resources, website, company email. Don't have a Gmail for your business or Yahoo, whatever. You got to have a bank account and stuff like that. Want to demonstrate past performance through actual work received government generated from the business, not from you. You have to have product and service readily available to sell to the government. Want to read all the SBA guidebooks, get started assets, your business, assess your business to see if you're ready for government contracting. You see that link there, and you'll get these slides. Complete your Maryland APEX Accelerator application at the site to get started. And once you've completed these steps, you'll receive your application. We will receive and assign a counselor to you who will assist you within 30 days. These are other resources that are available to you. Understand these resources are available to you based on money you put into the system. Just like the APEX Accelerator, we're not free. We are services that your tax dollars have paid for. These other resources, SBDC, you want to go there first to get yourself started. Get your business plan. Get the lay of the land just as a business owner. Get it sorted out there. If you need a mentor, that's where you go to get the mentor, SCORE. And you can find a mentor that maybe give that business development person you need. For the women's business, you might want to go to the Women's Business Center. There's a couple of them throughout the state. And for the veterans, they have the Veteran Business Outreach Program, the VBOP. So here we are. Any questions?
Thank you, Pam. That was very thorough. Appreciate it. Yes, we have time for a couple of questions. First one is, can I bid on contracts if my business is under a different NAICS code than the service the government requested?
You can, but that's usually not what you want. So you want to stay within the guidelines. There's some agents that will be like a stickler for, well, I don't see that NAICS, because remember, you're trying to find people that are looking for you. So what you want to do is identify what NAICS codes you can function at right now, not something you're looking at in the future. You want to look at what can you do right now.
Your next question is, I want to focus on micro purchases and simplified acquisitions. Any tips or ideas on how to go about that?
What you want to do is the micro purchase, you identify who is the buyer. That's one of the things. Who buys those micro purchases from you and how do they buy? When you look at some of those databases, like you might see that they do blanket purchase agreements. They might use how they buy will tell you the cost. You'll be able to see what they charge. I mean, what the bid was for those types of opportunities. It's that research thing that you can identify and buy that NAICS code and product service codes. That's how you do that level of research. And you can also, once you identify that another is the DIB, the Defense Logistics Agency, they buy all the commodity kind of products for the military. That may be one of the resources for that kind of thing.
Okay, and the last question is, can I change my NAICS codes in sam.gov if I didn't already have it in there?
Yes, you can. There's two places. What happens is SAM is the database that has your primary information. And you go in there and put that kind of information, these codes and whatnot, and product service codes. You then they take that core data, because of the answers to your questions, you told them that you were a small business. They move that data over to the dynamic small business search or the SBA profile. And then they have specific questions that they're asking that the agencies want to know about the small business. And that's when a lot of times early on, you could easily miss that. But now they have separated it, and you don't have to go through SAM all over again and go down and down and down. That's what you used to have to do. You can go directly to connect.sba.gov, and that would take you to a page, and then you have to log in with your same login that you logged into SAM, and it will take you to a page that you have to ask for access. That access is all it's saying is that they want to connect you as the small business to your unique identifier. And once it's done that, you can get in there, and then it will put your unique identifier up, and you can click on it and go in there, and you can change any information in there that's allowable in that database. You will be able to tell it's allowable because the grayed out area on that database will say that came from SAM. The white boxes that doesn't have anything in them will be something you can add to.
Okay, thank you. That's great, Pam. Thank you again for a great presentation. We know it's a lot of information to take in, so we've recorded it. So you will be able to watch this back or share it with your colleagues. And of course, pay attention to the final slide, which is our checklist of what you need to do to prepare to receive counseling from us. And we do help with SAM.gov registrations and other things in that nature. And I have posted the link in the chat box for you to register for our other classes and events. So thank you, Pam. Thank you, everybody. And we hope to see you at a future APEX Accelerator event. Bye-bye.